Okay, so for this activity, we're going to need to do a regression line and then use that regression line for a couple of calculations. So I'm going to start by pressing on. This menu appears. If we choose 1 here, number 1, you just click on the keyboard, it's quicker. Choose no, don't save it. And start by pressing add calculate.
Oh, do you press activate?
Okay, so next we're going to press control, which is here, add page. On this point, we're going to choose to add a list or a spreadsheet, number 4. We are going to write an X and a Y. Here in the 2 label columns at the top. Next, we need to type in the data into these 2 columns that we see here in the question. So we have this data here for words, and we can start typing that one in, 2177, and so on. So type in the data that we see. A really common mistake that people make with this is they get this far in their calculations and then they do the next stages and it doesn't work, it gives an error message. And the most common reason is when they type this last number in here, they don't press enter and they leave it flashing like that and then move over to the next page. So often when students get an error message here when we do this next calculation, it's because they haven't finished entering the data. If you look at my data, your data might not look the same. It could look different to how mine is looking. It all depends on how many decimal places or significant figures you have set. You can change that by using document, settings, document settings. I've got it on fixed to 3 decimal places. So if you want, you can change this to float for now. And you'll see that my data will then look different again. So if your data is looking different to mine because you have these extra zeros or you have a few bits and pieces missing, then you can change it around. It doesn't matter, it's stored correctly. Does anyone need any help before we move to the next stage? You didn't manage to type that in. Are we all good? Hands up if you're good to go. Excellent. Okay, so next we want to move over to back to the calculator page. The easiest and quickest way is to press the control button and press the left button. And you'll instantly move across. Next we want to do the regression like we've done before. The easy way to do this is with the cheat code menu 613. And it pulls up the secret menu. Here for our X list, we can say X. For the Y list, you can also just scroll to the right like this on the king. You get the different choices that we've got available, and you can press enter. At this point, you don't have to scroll all the way down to the OK, just press enter, and it will do the regression for us. So, if you need to enter with a certain number of decimal places, often in these exercises, they'll say enter to the nearest hundredth, enter to the nearest thousandth, and so on. So let's say it says enter to the nearest thousand. You want to change your document settings so it goes to the nearest thousandth. So you want to fix the number of decimal places on this one. I'm going to fix it to 3 decimal places. I press enter again and it will shorten these numbers down to 3 decimal places.
I put in the data, but while I was putting the data, started doing the other steps on one side.
So when I said, put your hand up if you're ready, or is there anybody who's not finished? You weren't finished and you said nothing. Okay, you need to follow these instructions. Right. So we have our equation 0.003, which is our gradient m, and our y-intercept constant b is going to be 29.334. So 29.334. At this point on this exercise in IXL, when we enter this, it will move us to the next phase. So the next page on this one, once we've typed in our equation, is saying we have this as our equation. This is the equation we just entered. We need to use that equation to complete the following sentence. So for each additional word in the story, the least squares regression line predicts that it would only take Zoe how many more minutes to review it. So on this one, you need to have a good understanding of the context of the question. So what we're looking at is Zoe is an editor reviewing short story submissions for a literary magazine. She's collected data showing that she's an efficient reviewer and wants to leverage this to get a raise. For a week, Zoe recorded the number of words in each story submission, X, and how long it took her to review it in Y. So number of words is X, number of minutes it took is Y. So you can see how. So for every extra word, how many more minutes would it take her to do it? So we need to do for each additional word, how many more minutes is it going to take to review? So how much is the Y value going up as each X goes up? So as we add one more X, how is the Y value going to increase? That's what the question is asking. Now, look at the formula. It's very simple in this formula. We have two numbers. This is the fixed value. This is a fixed value. The reason it's a fixed value is it is just a number. We are not multiplying it by anything. It is just a number. It will stay at that number. So for every X, that number will still be 29. But this other number here is our variable value. This one is our variable value. So what happens here on this one, we have our fixed value and we have our variable value. So for every X, we multiply it by this number. So for every word, we are going to be getting that many more. We are going to get 0.003 more minutes. So if X is 1,000, then it's going to take us 3 minutes to get it, and so on. So then we enter this one and we move to one more question. So in this next question, we're asked to make a prediction. How long does it take? We need to use the line to predict how long it will take Zoe to review a story with 5,584 words. And we answer to the nearest thousand. So for this one, we know that X is 5,584. What is the Y value? And we can put that into the equation here, and you can do the calculation using these numbers. Or on the calculator, we have a special trick. If we press variables here, we know this is a bunch of them, but look at the functions here at the top. The most recent function here, so F1 in this case, whichever is at the F2, F3, F4, whichever is at the bottom is the most recent one we just made. So we select F1, we press enter, and then we can type the number in, 5584, and enter, and it will give us our answer. So our answer in this case is 44.188. And this is how many minutes it will take us to complete. So with this being F1, if I did another regression line, if I did another 613, and even just from the same data, notice this third line, it says, where should I save it to? It's saying F2 now. Previously saved it to F3. So when I click on variables now, there's two buttons. So the most recent one is always at the bottom, like this. You can change that if you wish. Okay, that is it for that.